Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to be looking at 11 things I hate in Bloxburg. Now to make it a little bit easier, I divide it into two categories. I have a category called used to hate, which is things that I used to hate and then later got fixed or I'm not annoyed by anymore. And then later in the video we'll continue on to things I still hate about Bloxburg and things I still get triggered by. So let's get right into the video. Now before we continue, I do want to say I was going to start uploading again last week. I know I've been a little bit slow when it comes to uploading on my YouTube channel. That's because I didn't really find the time, and I finally had the time and then I got super ill. But anyways, let's get to the things that I used to hate about Bloxburg. Number one is you could only do one job. A long time ago when Bloxburg was still very small and very cozy, you could only do one job. So you could level up in one job. I did pizza baker for the longest time. I think I was level 47. But if you were done with a job, or at least over it, and you wanted to do a new job, you actually had to start a new job. So you would lose all your progress in the old job, not be able to start a new job until you reset all of the progress you built up on the first job that you did. So when I was done with pizza baker, I changed to pizza delivery. I was a super low level again. I lost all of my previous levels and I got very annoyed by that. I used to really hate not being able to switch jobs without losing your job levels. I'm sure a lot of people remember that one. Moving on to number two, and that is people on my plot. I used to get so annoyed when someone jumped in my garden or used my pool in my house, but then I kind of got normalized to it because it's still Bloxburg and people will do that anyway, so it makes no sense for me to be angry at people who just randomly jump in my pool or jump in my backyard. I don't expect anything from them. They probably don't expect anything from me as well. They probably just want to check out whatever it is that's in my backyard or see what it looks like. I don't think most of them have bad intentions, so I used to get really triggered by people who like kind of broke into your house almost, even though it was just your backyard. But now I'm like, it's Bloxburg, and we can now with the new permission settings automatically block everyone in a server that we joined. If I don't want people on my plot, I can just block them basically. It's not like I get annoyed by it anymore. And speaking of permissions, moving on to number three, that is guests not being able to drive your car, but then if you roommate them, they would be able to steal food from your fridge that you have stocked up from, for example, the Christmas update. And I used to get really annoyed by that because sometimes I wanted people to be able to use my car, especially the large one that a lot of people want to drive, but then I always needed to be on a plot that didn't have a fridge. Because if I had a fridge on that plot, I for sure would have lost all of my special items that I collected over the years. So I had one plot with cars and then one plot with like my fridge and stuff on it. And I never combined the two because if I gave roommate to someone, yes, they would be able to drive my car, but they also would be able to steal everything from my fridge, which I did not want. And now with the permission settings, we can luckily change that. I'm so glad we have that now because my gosh, was it annoying. But now, yes, I do let guests drive. I don't mind guests being able to drive my cars, but it should have been there in the first place. I'm still getting annoyed thinking about it. Moving on to number four, and that is more of a general thing for content creators, and that is people saying, oh, you copied X YouTuber or X TikToker with this video. They did that first. First of all, a lot of the times I look that video up and then it comes later than my video. I had that a lot with like videos I posted 6 years ago that barely got any views because no one was watching back then. And then people are like, but you copied this YouTuber, and then I uploaded before them. And even if I did copy a YouTuber or an idea, it's not necessarily copying someone. Not every content creator watches every other content creator on the platform. And if you have an idea, you just want to make a video about that, you just want to have fun, you don't really look at has someone done that before. For example, when it comes to building a city, probably was not the first person to build a city. I wanted to build a city at that time, and I still got comments of people saying, oh, you copied this YouTuber. It's not necessarily copying, it's just having your own ideas. There's only so many ideas that people can do. If I'm the first person with an idea, I really don't mind if someone else does a video with the same idea. It's just how content works. As long as you don't straight up copy someone's voice, copy someone's work without giving them credit, guess it's fine. Like the amount of people that built houses into letter shapes now, for example, I built a house in a W shape or something like that. It happens, it's a trend, and people people jump onto trends, and it's okay to do that. But yeah, it used to bother me a lot more than it does now. Now I'm just say whatever you want. I'm just here to have fun, basically. And then another thing I used to hate and now I don't anymore is overly detailed builds. They used to not trigger me in a way, but I used to get upset because first of all, I don't take enough time to detail my house. I get jealous of the skill level of other people, and it makes me demotivated to build my own house because every time I'm building, I'm like, I should be better than this. I should do better than this. But now I'm like, if I build again, I just want to build for fun. If I build something for myself and it's not as great as the greatest builds that there are on Bloxburg, I don't get annoyed by that anymore because I'm like, I built this for me, and I usually don't like my houses. If I like my house, I'm like, it's fine. But I used to strive to be like the best builders in Bloxburg, and I didn't really have fun building anymore. So now I'm like, I'm just gonna build whatever I want to and not really look at what's out there. And that brings me to the last thing that I used to hate. I don't love it, but I used to hate aesthetic builds and the whole aesthetic trend of painting everything in a light or a blush color and then calling it a day. I used to think it was lazy. I used to think people just painted everything white, and there have been some people that painted everything institutional white, even their plants. And I used to think it was lazy because you can paint everything white and not really think about a color palette, and if everything's white, it will look good, right? And that's what I used to think about it. But then I discovered that aesthetic, even though it's not really like a word to describe a trend with, is more so liking a certain aesthetic, I guess. And usually that comes down to things being lighter, like light woods, light floors, white walls. It still fits together, and I used to only see those very all institutional white builds. But now I look at it differently, and if that's something that you like, then that's completely fine. And then we move on to things that I still hate in Bloxburg. Now again, before we continue, small disclaimer, yes, I do work for Bloxburg. I do not dictate what updates are gonna be next. So commenting, just fix it or just add it to the game, doesn't really do much. I still suggest things. I'll see what they implement to the game, but I'm not the only person wanting things for Bloxburg, so I shouldn't be looking at my own needs and wants. Things I still hate. Number one is the plot management system. I have a lot of plots collected over the years. I have plots with pre-built houses on them, then I have empty plots. I have plots with builds on them that I haven't finished because I currently do not have a finished house that I like. But I want to be able to sort my plots, and that's my main frustration with the plot management system, is that if you buy a plot, it gets added to the bottom, or if you build a house on plot number 10, it will always be on number 10. You can't move it up, you can't move it down. And I really want to be able to do that because sometimes I want to keep an old build, but then I have to scroll down really far for an empty plot. And I know it's a first world problem, but I wish we could sort plots. Then next, something I also still hate is that some stairs will go through the wall when you place them. Usually when I place my stairs, I place them against a wall so that they are flush with that wall. But then if you have a wall next to that wall, it will sometimes jump through that wall. And it's very triggering and annoying. And I have to go into small grid placement to make sure that my stair does not come through the other side of the wall. And then same thing with the sink. If you use a craftsman counter, I think it is, and you place a sink, you will see the wood go through it. Those are like small frustrations. And then next is a very controversial one, but I do want to mention it. Something that I still don't really like in the game. And you can have a different opinion, that's completely fine. I personally do not like decal plants, and especially not trees. I still think it looks out of place. I've seen some very pretty builds, and then there's a bunch of decal plants in front of that build. For me personally, it immediately drags down the value of that house, or like how I look at the house. It can be a really nice house, and then there's like one decal tree in front of it that looks so out of place for me. I don't think it looks like Bloxburg at all, and you don't have to make everything look like Bloxburg. It's still kind of the aesthetic of the game. And then I see that decal plant and I'm like, well. But I also understand that you want different plants than what we currently have in the game, so if you use them, that's completely fine. It's just a personal opinion. Moving on is ban reports in my comment section. Now for me personally, I get it, it's confusing. Since I can handle ban reports. It's normal for people to want to come to my personal channel and put their bans. It's also very confusing for some people that this is my personal channel, this is not related to any work at Coffee Stain. So putting bans here is kind of useless since I'm not allowed to check bans from personal accounts. But I also understand that it's confusing. However, there's still a lot of content creators that get ban reports that can't even look into bans. I used to get them before as well, before I had any access to bans. And so that still sometimes annoys me that you put a lot of work and effort in a video and all you get is like, when is the next update? Where's the Christmas update? Can I get unbanned? I did nothing wrong. And nothing about the video that you worked hard on, that you want someone to acknowledge. All you see is like, I have a bug, I have this, but I also kind of did this to myself because I wanted to keep my personal channel and then become a community manager. So I get it. It's kind of my fault as well. And then the last one is people asking for donations and then being rude. So for example, someone asks you a $2,000 donation, you give $2,000 because it's so easy to make, and then they're like, can I have more? Without saying thank you, without anything, can I have more? And so you're like, I'm not gonna give more because I expected at least a thank you. So you're like, no, I already donated. And then they become super rude, everything is hashtagged, they yell at you, they start bugging you, they start following you, and it's, oh my god, please stop, go to work. But anyways, those are 11 things that I used to hate or still hate about Bloxburg. Let me know some of your frustrations and annoyances. It can be anything related to the game. I just wanted to make this video because I had some things that I wanted to talk about. Now anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe.